Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for not wanting a relationship with my father? I really don't know how to start this, since this is my first post ever. So I'm sorry for dumping my whole backstory on you guys. Also, I'm dyslexic, so sorry for any mistakes. When my 33 male dad was 15, he got his 14 years old girlfriend pregnant. My paternal grandparents forced them to have the baby. My mother gave up her rights and her family moved away. To be fair to my dad, having me ruined his teen years. My grandparents forced him to take care of me if he wasn't in school, so he didn't have a life. Then they held his college fund hostage to make him attend a school he could commute to. When he graduated, he ran to the other side of the country and went LC. What that meant is that I had a dad until I was 7. I remember having a dad and calling him dad, and even if he wasn't the best, he was there. But after that, it was like he didn't exist. He met a woman, got married. I was the only kid in the family not invited. That hurt. Then he had kids, and they would have family trips and stuff like that. I wasn't even allowed to call him dad by then. When I left my grandparents' home for college, we went NC, mainly because neither of us bothered to keep in contact. And I admit I hated him by then. In these last 15 years we only met twice, the funerals of my grandparents. They split their estate between us. He bought me out of the house and that was that. About 10 months ago or so, he added me on FB. Then he called me out of the blue to chat. Then he asked me to bring my family, wife and 2 kids, to meet the family and spend the holidays. I was weirded out. He is practically a stranger and said we will be spending it with the in-laws. It has been the same with him calling and me picking up 10 times. He called again 3 weeks ago to invite us for 40th of July. I declined again. He was upset. I posted some pics from my in-laws cookout in FB and he called me. He was very upset and maybe even crying. He said he just wanted to have a relationship with his eldest son and that it hurt that I was so against it. I didn't know what to say except I prefer the relationship we have now. But now I'm feeling bad. Am I the antagonist? It would make sense if he truly wanted to be in a relationship with you. The only issue is that he decided to leave. Moreover, why did he decide not to invite his oldest child to the wedding and travels? It appears that he made a decision regarding who he views as his real family. Comment by team member Parker. Now for the top comments. NTA. He was his own priority when he chose not to see you much for 15 years. And now it's time for you to prioritize yourself and what's best for you. It's not even a matter of priority for me. The guy's pretty much a stranger I used to know as a kid. I don't want to have a relationship with him. NTA. I cannot say for sure, but there has to be some kind of ulterior motive, right? No one can have a kid, leave the kid first chance they get, ignore them for 15 years, and then suddenly want that kid to build a relationship with them. Something about this isn't right. I thought so at first, but there has been no request for money. All his kids are healthy, and so is he. I honestly don't know why he wants a relationship now. Am I the antagonist for refusing to cover up my disturbing body at a wedding? So I'm 18F and still live with my parents, 40SF and 40SM, until September when I go to uni. I've struggled with my mental health a lot in the past, which my parents know all about. Content warning ahead, but because of past severe depression, I have a lot of very obvious keloid scars all up and down my left arm in particular, and on my wrist. Because of my complexion they are very noticeable when I wear short sleeves. However, at this point they don't bother me personally. They are just a part of my body in past, and it doesn't trouble me. But I know that they are something which makes my parents deeply uncomfortable to look at. Anyway, the story plays out like this. Earlier this week I had to attend a wedding. It was the wedding of my aunt who I'm really close with and who I see all the time. All of our family was also there. Some of them who I haven't seen for years and years, just because they don't live locally. I'm one of the youngest people in the family, so my family is full of old people too. So, building up to the wedding, my mom kept suggesting dresses I should wear for the occasion, because the venue was really fancy, and all the dresses she suggested had long sleeves, or an accompanying shawl or something. I told her it's literally the middle of summer and I'll possibly boil to death. So she dropped it, and I ended up buying a cute sleeveless dress and deciding to wear that. She seemed mad, but didn't say anything until we were in the car driving to the venue and she pulled out this very thin draping cardigan and told me to put it on. I asked why, and she said my poor grandma will have a heart attack if she sees my arms, because it's disturbing to the older people who won't understand. Basically I refused to wear the cardigan, and it did cause a scene. When my great aunt saw my arm she literally gasped in shock and wouldn't shut up about it the whole wedding. I did put on a cardigan after that, but she kept bringing it up to the other guests as well. Meanwhile my mom tried to de-escalate the situation and they began arguing about how she's a bad parent for allowing me to do that to myself. All while the attention had obviously been pushed away from the bride, who was visibly upset by the whole thing, and the atmosphere was really tense. I felt super bad about the whole thing and my mom suggested I apologize to my aunt. Am I the antagonist here? If other people don't like it, that's their issue to resolve. It's your body. NTA. Your great aunt was unable to let go of the fact that your family was unaware of your health. Comment by team member Shannon. Now for the top comments. NTA. Your family are assholes. Though. Yes. Not the a-hole. Why apologize to the aunt who behaved so appallingly? She was the one who made a big scene. These people were being ridiculous. And they need to learn to stop commenting on people's scars. Commenting on people's bodies is rude. And doing that loudly and repeatedly at a wedding is completely obnoxious. Your mom wants you to apologize because you are younger and because it probably seems easier to manipulate you than it is to get your aunt to behave like a reasonable adult. Your aunt's obnoxious rudeness and your mom's concern for appearances are not your job to fix. NTA. It's not your fault a scene was caused as you weren't the one causing the scene. Your great aunt was. PS hope you're doing better now. Don't let anyone tell you that this was your fault. You were not the one going around telling people about someone else's personal business. Therefore you were not the a-hole. Am I the antagonist for getting my dad in trouble with the police? My 19F dad has always drunk quite a lot. I'd say he's a functioning alcoholic. He works and has a normal life, but he has at least 5 drinks every single day and can't go without. He often drinks more than that. We recently went to a concert. He drove since he promised he wouldn't drink until he got home. I made him promise. He often drinks and drives. Well, he broke his promise. He had 4 beers before we left. That I saw. It might be more. I offered to drive. Since I recently got my license. He refused. I offered to look for public transport options. He got angry and told me I could either walk or get in the car. So I did. Another car hit us. It wasn't my dad's fault. But if he was sober I'm pretty sure he would have reacted in time to prevent it. While he and the other driver were filling in the insurance forms at a gas station parking lot, a police car came by for gas and stopped by to ask what happened. I pulled one of them aside and told them exactly what happened. My dad was taken to the police station. I'm not sure what happened. My mom picked me up. She was furious that I'd knowingly got him in trouble. My dad hasn't talked to me at all since then. My mom is short and angry too. I mean, I was pissed. He broke his promise and drove drunk, even though there were other options. Even though I told him I didn't want to get in the car, but it probably was the wrong move. English isn't my first language, so I'm sorry if the sentences are weird. Am I the antagonist? That you are the only sane, capable adult in your family breaks my heart. Drunk driving is egotistical and foolish. Your dad might have killed you and other people, which will inevitably happen someday at this rate. Please leave your parents as soon as possible and seek lots of counseling. Comment by team member Jordan. Now for the top comments. NTA. Your mom is enabling this shit. I think you saw it as a last resort to help your dad. He was super irresponsible to drive and put everyone's life in danger. I did. I was hoping he'd see how serious it is. I don't think it worked. NTA, but be prepared for the fallout from this. You may not know it yet, but your family is in for some financial hard times. Hopefully your dad will learn something from this. But for now, there's going to be a lot of anger. resentment, and trust issues on top of the financial issues that drunk driving leads to. Just remember, you did the right thing, and that your dad now has a choice to learn from this. She's not in the US, so odds are there are not massive hard financial times ahead. Most countries you'd have to pay the damage to the other car and do community service. And you can set up a payment plan to pay off the damages over time in most places. Am I the antagonist for telling a lady on the bus to shut up? Today I went out with some friends. There was 35°C, 95°F outside. I hate any temperature that goes above 30. I got on the bus, and at the next stop a lady sat down next to me, even though there were plenty of other seats empty without anyone next to you. So that got me a little annoyed. But okay. After 5 minutes, she receives a phone call and doesn't bother to speak somewhat silently. Pretty sure everyone on the bus heard her. I was getting pretty pissed, but I put on my headphone. When she finishes the phone call, she tries to talk to me. I ignore her, but she keeps going, and eventually, she pokes me, and at that point, I was mad. I take off my headphones and say, "Lady, you've been talking non-stop, and I'm pretty sick and tired of this, so would you do me the favor of shutting the fuck up?" She then tells me I'm an uneducated asshole and gets off at the next station. So, Reddit, am I the antagonist? Along for imposed social distance, I would have made a subtle statement that I didn't like having her sit next to me. I wouldn't hesitate to tell a stranger to F off if they started prodding me on the bus. That suggests to me that she merits hearing what you have to say regarding her constant talking. Comment by team member Corey. Now for the top comments. NTA, I honestly can't abide by people who keep poking and prodding people wearing headphones. Like seriously, what life-threatening issue do you expect them to solve? Years ago on a train, some twerpy guy poked my arm hard, repeatedly. Apparently, he could hear some noise, music, leaking out my headphones and wanted silence. I told him that, if he touched me again, that he'd have only 4 fingers on that hand. He probably thought he was gonna go home and post on Reddit how he bossed up on some guy on the subway. NTA, I'd have done the same thing. She then tells me I'm an uneducated asshole and gets off at the next station. Clearly it was the correct thing to say because mission accomplished. I left the bus. NTA. Am I the antagonist for pleading with the waiter to not do the birthday saddle? It's my birthday today and we went out to eat. I got to choose where we went, and Texas Roadhouse is my favorite place. However, I don't like the birthday tradition of them having patrons get on a saddle and swing a napkin around like a lasso. It embarrasses the hell out of me and makes me uncomfortable. I'm also wearing a dress tonight which would have only made it more uncomfortable. My nana, God bless her, tells the waiter that it's my birthday. I felt my soul leave my body and I literally beg, hands clasped at my chest, for him to not make me do it. He promised I wouldn't have to, and then my nana got mad at me for being a spoilsport. She sat with her lips pursed firmly staring into her wine glass until they brought us more bread and then glared at me. I didn't have to do the birthday saddle and I'm happy, but my nana is still chewing with anger. Am I the antagonist for not doing the birthday saddle? The NTA is you. Tell nana to mount the horse. Just politely decline and end the conversation there. Even having to sit in a saddle is awkward when someone sings to you in a restaurant and you are wearing a dress. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. NTA, I hate that crap too. Nana can sit in the saddle if she's so set on it being occupied. I agree. I love to yell out yeehaw while swinging my arms around as much as the next guy, but public humiliation doesn't sound like a great way to celebrate your birthday. Not the a-hole. NTA, I don't know why humiliation should be part of a celebration in public. Same. I basically refuse to celebrate my birthday at chain restaurants anymore because they always seem to have some bizarre ritual they have to perform for you, and the only ritual I want to participate in is the one where I eat an obscene amount of cake. Am I the antagonist for calling my mother-in-law a freeloader and not giving her leftovers? For context, I was raised that whenever you go to someone's house for an event i.e. cookout, holiday party, etc., You should always bring something such as a side or dessert or a bottle of wine for the hosts. If there are leftovers, they now belong to host or hosts and they can do whatever they want with them. Say it's your job to bring the soda to a BBQ. Any leftover soda is now for the host. My husband's family expects me to host every holiday party and cookout and foot the bill too. So I'm usually hosting for 15, 20 plus people. For Christmas, I had to buy a $100 ham and then make all the sides, desserts, provide the drinks, utensils, etc. My mother-in-law and most of her family would always show up empty-handed, with their own to-go containers, and never lift a finger to help prepare or clean up. I'm a mother of 3 small children, and I work a full-time, and it's the kind of job where I work holidays and weekends. Money started getting tight with all the inflation and I'm just beyond exhausted, so I've been asking for everyone to either bring a side or dessert or drinks, and I will provide the main dish as well as all the utensils, etc. to help with our budget and to save me some time. This last cookout we had, I supplied to main dishes and a side. My mother-in-law begrudgingly brought a watermelon and her famous to-go containers. As I was cleaning up, she made sure to grab the remainder of her watermelon and then started to fill her containers with the leftovers. When I asked her politely to please not take it because it was my kid's favorite and they will be having it for lunch tomorrow, she implied that I was rude and inconsiderate. I lost my shit and called her a freeloader and said she is welcome to host and provide for everyone at the next cookout. Then so am I the antagonist if you don't adhere to the strict portion restriction rule when throwing a potluck party. I'd completely withdraw. Alternately, let your husband host while making it apparent that you won't be home and won't be helping with any of the preparations. Just make sure to serve enough portions for the guests on hand. Comment by team member Taylor. Now for the top comments. NTA. Quit hosting. No is a complete sentence. Also, while you're at it, tell your husband to grow a pair and have him cook everything. NTA. I was in this position for years, but have since stopped hosting because it's just too much work and I decided I want to actually enjoy holidays now. My in-laws would expect to be invited to every get-together and would invite their own extra people without even telling me. They would just show up with extra guests, even after explaining that they shouldn't do this because there's not enough food, chairs etc. They still continued to do this, banking on me being polite. After I stopped hosting, they begrudgingly started hosting at their house. And wouldn't you know, the guest list got smaller and smaller over the years until they stopped hosting too. People don't understand just how much work it is to host a large family gathering. Give yourself a break. Just stop. For a while. Or forever. When others start hosting, they'll have a better understanding of the work involved. What kind of person brings a container to a party unless it's full of things you're bringing? How incredibly rude. Why is your husband not telling his mother off? I would expect him to take the container out of her hands and dump the contents back in the dish, not the a-hole. Because there is an entire population of mama's boys that can't tell mommy no, while the wife is stuck in hell dealing with the entitled mother-in-law who demands to be treated like royalty every time they grace the daughter-in-law with their presence. You are not the a-hole or the issue here, as others have said. Just say no.